Welcome back, everybody. Moving on to our book review this morning. The story of AmaZulu King Shaka Zulu, titled Shaka Inkosi Yamakhosi on Netflix, has already earned international accolades. Now, the executive producer and director of the film, Manzini Zungu, has adapted the film into a book. Now, the book is about Shaka's own discoveries and how he rewrote the destiny of an entire nation. Well, the author joins us now this morning to share a bit more about the book and the short film. A very good morning to you, Baba Zungu. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thanks, Sims, and thanks for having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure. You know, so many stories have been told about King Shaka Zulu, so many different versions, so many different adaptations from book to film and the other way around. So would you say that Shaka Inkosi Yamakhosi is another version told through your perspective?
Look, it is a version that is told from an African perspective, and you will remember that our storytelling came from our homes. We tell a story of this mighty king as a normal human being that had friends as a young man, a king that was born out of wedlock, a king that was bullied, a king that had similar experiences of a young boy or a young girl in a township or in a village. But we take that story, after the film, we bring it back into literature, and we make sure that as we write this book after the film, that it is a story that will live in our living homes, but more importantly in classrooms, and it can find itself in boardrooms and any library around the world. But we're telling this mighty story of this king, of a normal person who became a king, who was bullied, who was born out of wedlock, but more importantly, who seek to unite established kingdoms and make them a nation.
And we've heard so many versions and adaptations told from a Western influence. So what's the importance of retelling the story of Ushaka through our own perspective, from the African perspective?
First of all, this is what Malamola, my grandmother, tells me. I come back from school, I have been bullied for so many times. Then she says to me, let me tell you a story of a mighty king that had similar experiences to yours. And I knew about Shaka from being told at home. But that day, it took me by surprise that here was someone that I thought he was a superhero, comparing him to Superman, comparing him to Spider-Man. But then my grandmother says to me, he lived in the 17th centuries and 18th centuries, but he had to survive bullying just like you. He was born out of wedlock just like you. And he had friends just like you. And he loved music, and he composed the music. So we're telling this story of not only a warrior, but we're telling a story of, like, in every one of us, there is those 1,000 ancestors that propelled us forward to succeed. And we tell a story of leadership, courage, but we tell a story as well of a strategy, flanking strategy, impondo zenkomo, that was stolen by Napoleon Bonaparte at the time. Today, the US Army is using this strategy that was created and came into being because of this king that was born on the southern tip of the African continent. Every army around the world is using a flanking strategy now when they go to war. But it was a strategy that was created by this king. But we tell a story of a human being that was normal, just like me and you, Sims.
And it's quite interesting that you say that, because, I mean, that's a totally new, different dimension that you're telling me now, something that I've never heard of. And having said that, while writing this book and while doing research, trying to collate all the information, what new and interesting information that you probably didn't know of?
Over the years, my grandparents will tell me of this mighty king that was an amazing songwriter. In these days, we talk about a songwriting performance. He didn't only inspire his nation with the military strategy, but in song, he will burst in song himself. He's got lots of amahubo that he composed himself. So this was a performer as well. This was a king that was a normal person, not only a warrior. Yes, you find those leadership lessons from him, not only in the leadership roles of politicians, but you find them in the business boardrooms as well.
Sure. And what is the intention of animating the film? And I see that the book is also illustrated in animations. What is the intention behind that?
To keep it relevant to the young audiences, to make sure that our young audiences and youth gets back to learn about their heritage.
Okay.
The only thing we own as Africans is our heritage.
Yeah.
And our heritage is our wealth. We own no land yet. We still dream to own land. But the only thing we really own is our heritage. Our heritage, we need to take our stories for global audiences, and that is our wealth.
And I see that the story is told in 7 different languages, eh?
Fantastic. How and that really excites me. Not only 7, we're going to tell it in 13, because the book itself, it's being translated into Braille right now. So we started with the 7 languages so far that are dominant, but we're going to make sure that the book is available even in Khoi and San, but more importantly, in Braille as well.
Yeah.
So it's the book that must find itself in the classroom. It's a book that must find itself in libraries around the world, in the living rooms, and also in the boardrooms.
Yeah, speaking of libraries, I see that you've also had a collaboration with the University of Johannesburg. So will the book be part of a certain curriculum moving forward? What is the role of UJ in it?
I'm so excited about the partnership we have as a Manzini Zungu Foundation with the university and myself, because I am in the fellowship in the university. I'm a research associate in the university. So, and it's because of this partnership that we are able to translate the book into Braille as well, into other languages.
Yeah.
And yes, the UJ Press team and the university has been fantastic on this journey, and we just want to capture those audience. And as you know, that when you delve into literature, you need to make sure that the content that you have is long-lasting and it is superior quality to be read by generations to come.
Baba Zungu, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for
having me. This is an
me.
absolute masterpiece. Thank you so much for sharing, of putting all your work into coming up with this. Thank you. Well, we just spoke to Manzini Zungu, who's the film producer and author of a book titled Shaka Inkosi Yamakhosi.
Angizulu esikoleni gogo. Abangifuni mina laphaya.
Uyazi mzukulu, umkhumbuzo omunye umuntu naye wayekhipha inyumbazana. Wayenazo zonke izathu zokungaqhubeki ngempilo. Ngokubhekana nezimo ezinzima. Wathona eseyinkosi yakwaZulu, ethandwa nehlonishwa izizwe zonke.
Ubani lo